Alrighty, so for everybody who is tuning in, it's 12 News reporter Jordan Foster here. We're right here at the intersection of Magnolia and Merriman Street, really just a few blocks away from that TPC plant. A few updates I just want to share. That mandatory evacuation for the Port Neches, Needleland, Groves, and parts of Port Arthur areas has since been lifted. They announced today, it was a 10 o'clock press conference. They say that they believe they have this fire contained. And so they went ahead and lifted that evacuation order. So people, if you live in the Needleland, Port Neches, Groves, and parts of Port Arthur, northern Port Arthur areas, you are now allowed to go back to your homes. They do have restricted areas. We're just outside the restricted area. And they said that no homes or businesses should be within that restricted area. So everyone in those areas should now be able to return home. Once again, for everybody who is just tuning in, we're right here on the corner of Magnolia and Merriman Street, and just a few blocks away from that TPC plant. And you can kind of see in the distance, you can still see some smoke. It's not as thick, obviously, as it has been the last 48 hours, but it is still smoking. Let me see if I can get another angle. And actually from this angle, you can see in the distance, they are still putting water. You can still see the water falling on top of what's left of that fire. They announced once again at a 10 p.m. press conference that they believe they have this under contained now. So they've been working overnight the last 48 to 72 hours to really get this under control. So much that they can do. They basically had to wait until it burnt out. They're doing it. They put flashes of water on it. As you can see, they've been letting the water mist hit it because they can't hit it directly. But they do believe they have it under containment now, and they have since lifted the evacuation order in Port Neches, Groves, parts of Port Arthur, and the Needleland area. And no, I'm not able to. Oh, yes, I am able to zoom. There we go. And you can see they're still actively putting water on it. They said in that press conference that they have the amount of water that they have been putting on it has been scaled back significantly. And they said that they've made significant progress overnight. I mean, they didn't know what to expect, especially 48 hours ago. They didn't know what to expect, which is why they went ahead and made the call to put that mandatory evacuation in order, because after that second explosion, they just wanted to be on the safe side. And just to kind of give you some perspective as I zoom out, that's about a block, maybe a block and a half away. And we have a neighborhood, I mean, right here on this street. And a lot of these houses, especially on Merriman Street, and I'm not sure what street that is, but you can see, I mean, some people have boarded up windows. It just shows how close and how strong that blast was. People had to board up windows the next day. There are a few other homes along this street as we drove up where we saw windows blown out. Some windows are still out in homes. I mean, it just shows you either they decided to evacuate or they had to make that decision to evacuate before getting that opportunity to board up homes. So I'm gonna zoom in again on the plant. And you can see they are still applying water to that affected area, but they do believe they have this under containment now. Once again, the evacuation order has since been lifted. So people in the Groves, Needleland, parts of Port Arthur, and Groves, Needleland, and Port Neches area can now return home. So we'll be here talking with families, meeting with families as they return home for the first time, and some people 48 hours, some people more than that. And sure to see a lot of happy faces, a lot of happy families. I'm just glad to finally be back in their homes. I'm sure this was a huge inconvenience on so many people, being, you know, that it was so close to the holidays. But we'll be talking to a lot of people just excited to get back to their homes. So we'll keep you all updated with the latest. But once again, and I just want to reiterate, we're on the corner of Magnolia and Merriman Street, just outside of that restricted zone. There are some restricted zones. They're asking people not to approach the plant. They're allowing people to go home, but they're saying to stay away from the plant. They don't want anybody approaching it. They don't want anybody trying to come and get within those restricted areas to get a closer look. They're telling you to stay away. They will have people patrolling the area, law enforcement. And once again, people living in Port Neches, Groves, parts of Port Arthur and Needland area can now return home. So once again, we'll be here talking with people returning home for the first time within the last 48 to 72 hours.